Hello, my darlings. Hello, 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 and welcome to another Banksy style quickie. Yeah, we're gonna do it quick style. So, how are we, everyone? Just a quick little intro to say hello to those out there. Anyone listening? If not, catch this on a replay. That's best that way, anyway. So, what are we doing in Banksy's quickies today? We're doing Adele. We're doing Adele in a quickie. We're giving Adele a quickie. Adele, my dearest Adele, is apparently she said something bad. She said something wrong. She said by the most innocent and most obvious thing to most human beings on the planet. She has awoken the wrath, or she has garnered the wrath of the Twitter mobs and the crazy alphabet people. Well, not really alphabet people. It's just the zers and the zhers and the zhers and the zhers and the unicorn people. It's the unicorn people, really, because gays, I'll be honest, I don't think the LGB people give a crap. It's the T's that go nuts over this crap, and the Q's, the T's and the Q's in that LGBTQ lineup. So what did she do? What was this egregious act? What was this unforgivable thing that this vicious transphobe Adele said? What was it? What did she do that deserved the wrath of the QT people or the TQ people? Well, this is it. This is oh my God, Streets, big up Streets, long time, big up Real. I'm sorry, Mighty Thor as well. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta keep myself focused. But yes, love you guys. Big up to both of you. Okay, what did she do? This is what Adele did. Let us listen to this horrific woman's cries of and transphobia. Let's listen to this transphobic harlot and what she has dared to spouse on the Brit Award stage.
Also, I understand why the name of this award has changed, but I really love being a woman and being a female artist. I do. I'm really proud.
And that was it, ladies and gentlemen. That was the egregious act that this this heathen, this heretic, she has gone against the known order. She should be flogged and burnt at the stake for uttering these words of just disgusting transphobic words. Listen again.
I understand why the name of this award has changed, but I really love being a woman and being a female artist. I do.
Disgusting. I'm disgusted.
I'm really proud of us. I really am. Thank you so much.
Disgusting. Should she be flogged? Absolutely. She should be taken out immediately from that stage and whipped into submission. This heretic, a witch, point her out for the heretic, the heresy. My ears were bleeding when I heard those words. My ears, I could not believe what I was hearing. This female person dared to say that she's a woman. She dared to identify herself as the female of a dimorphic species. How could she? Disgusting. We disavow. We disavow this immediately. Yeah, and now she's being cancelled. She's had one of her shows cancelled already, possibly a venue. And now she's going to, I guarantee you, she'll be churned out on an apology tour where she will have to go, and it's almost like the stockade. You know how the dock, was it the dock or the stock? I forgot what it was called. You know that thing where they stuck your head through this piece of wood and your arms were both, stock. I think it's called the stock. I forgot. Anyway, and they basically, people come and pelt rotten fruits and vegetables at you, tomatoes and cabbages. I think that's what she should be. She should be in the oh man, I forgot what the dock or the stock. No, I think I think it's called stock. Anyway, yeah, she should be basically flogged. Flogged, I say. Mint. I don't know. I don't know what. So wow, fuck them. Yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted by reading the text here. But yeah, she should be basically placed in a public arena, like in the public square, where people will flog her and throw tomatoes and rotten vegetables at her for what she did, because that was just disgusting. So yeah, that's number one. Number two. Now this is Christ, how long am I going for? Got to be very quick. These are quickies, and I'm already 6 minutes in. It's okay, I have time. This is another thing that Justin Trudeau, the wonderful LGBTQ loving, not at all racist, not at all blackface wearing Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. This is what he had to say to a Jewish member of the Canadian Parliament. Remember, this is a Jewish lady.
Optimistic, hopeful vision for public life isn't a naive dream. It could be a powerful force for change. If Canadians are to trust their government needs to trust Canadians. Those are the words of the Prime Minister in 2015. These people, very often misogynistic, racist, women haters, science deniers, the fringe. Same Prime Minister 6 years later as he fans the flames of an unjustified national emergency. So, Mr. Speaker, when did the Prime Minister lose his way? When did it happen?
Honourable Prime Minister.
That was a Jewish lady. I just want to remind everyone that was a Jewish lady who said that. And this is Justin Trudeau, the beloved Trudeau, the ever woke, the ever LGBTQ loving, the ever minority loving Trudeau, the liberal Justin Trudeau.
Conservative Party,
and always sensitive to people's feelings. Justin Trudeau is exceedingly sensitive to everybody's feelings and their heritage. He recognizes Indigenous Peoples Day, all of that shit. This is what he says to a Jewish woman.
Members can stand with people who wave swastikas. They can stand with people who wave the Confederate flag. We will choose to stand with Canadians who deserve to be able to get to their jobs, who will be able to get their lives back. These illegal protests need to stop, and they will, Mr. Speaker.
I just want to quickly say, the Speaker of this particular House, I mean, it's obviously modelled after the British system. It's blatantly obvious. But the Speaker is piss weak. Piss weak. He doesn't even call order once.
Unbecoming as a Prime Minister. It's been 48 hours that the government went from doing nothing to a national emergency.
Actually, let me fast forward this, because I mean she goes on a bit, but I'm not interested in her. I'm actually interested in this guy.
That he's lost control of his leadership.
Mr. Speaker, I've never seen such shameful and dishonorable remarks coming from this Prime Minister. My great-grandfather flew over 30 missions over Nazi Germany. My great-great-uncle's body lies at the bottom of the English Channel. There are members of this Conservative caucus who are the descendants of victims of the Holocaust. For the Prime Minister to accuse any colleague in this House of standing with the swastika is shameful.
I just want to quickly say that although I agree with him and it is shameful, that suit is not a fitting suit for him. That suit is way too small. I mean, look at that button. That middle button is holding on for dear life. Now, this man doesn't appear to be necessarily fat, although he's certainly chunky. He could be jacked. It could be like built like a brick shithouse under that suit. I don't know. But that jacket and that button are holding on for dear life. This suit is not fitted for this man. That jacket needs to be at least one, possibly two size bigger than that man's wearing. That suit isn't. He should reconsider this. This is not a suit that's fitting him.
I'm giving the Prime Minister an opportunity. I'm calling on him to unreservedly apologize for this shameful remark.
There. You see, I unbuttoned it as he sat because he knew that belly would pop that fucking button like a AK, like a bullet coming out of an M16. It would kill potentially another member of this parliament if that button had split. But I do agree with his sentiments, by the way. And there are further calls for Justin Trudeau. And now, see, look at this. This sniveling little bitch doesn't even fucking begin his speech with a boat sense of apology. Look at this.
Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve their freedoms back. Mr. Speaker, these illegal blockades...
Yeah, they want their freedoms back. That is why they're blocking the streets with trucks. Because you little fucking Nazi dictator, Mr. Little Hitler, is literally overstepping your powers, and you're invoking emergency wartime measures in order to try to stop them from having their freedoms. You are the oppressor here, little Mr. Blackface.
That have continued to interfere with people's livelihoods, to interfere with people's daily lives.
Look at this sniveling little shit. Doesn't say anything. He doesn't actually apologize. He just uses bollocks rhetoric to try to get out of his actually saying, look, I called a Jewish person a Nazi supporter. And this guy takes him to task one more time.
The lack of an apology from that Prime Minister speaks volumes. I have given this Prime Minister an opportunity to retract a shameful remark where he would accuse any honorable member of this House to stand with a swastika. As I said before, we have colleagues who are the descendants of victims of the Holocaust. I'm giving the Prime Minister one more chance.
And I'm giving your jacket one more chance for you to get a jacket that properly fits you, sir. For if you will ever to do that button up again, you will potentially be locking and loading a deadly weapon around your waistline. Get a jacket that fits you. It's terrible when big men wear suit jackets that are just too small for them, and then they try to do that top button, and they potentially could kill someone. You are wearing a deadly weapon, sir. That's what I'm saying. I'm giving you one more chance to get a better fitted suit.
Will he apologize to all members of this House?
Will you change your suit? Is what I need to know. Because there are members of this parliament who are in danger right now, sir.
Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker.
Now you see, look at Trudeau's suit. Look at that button. That button is not struggling. That button is not holding on with its fingertips. That button is comfortably seated where it is, because it's meant to be, because that jacket fits him, because this sniveling piece of shit probably affords, Savile Row tailor-made suits that are like £3,000 a piece, possibly more. But his jacket is certainly well fitted, even though he's a sniveling little shit.
The Conservative Party are calling to us to take more action over the past 2 weeks on this. They continue to stand with and encourage these illegal blockades.
Yeah, you slimy sack of shit. Anyway, so Trudeau basically calls a Jewish woman a Nazi or supporting Nazis, and then doesn't apologize. Because, well, I mean, God forbid if she was non-binary, though, and he misgendered her or called out her wrong pronouns, he would be on his knees begging for fucking forgiveness. But yeah, calling a Jewish woman, telling a Jewish woman that you stand with the Nazis, yeah, that's all right. That's all right. That's nothing to it. Okay, we're coming up to the 15-minute mark. Now, guys, I want to play something that's going to be about 10 minutes. So this little Banksy-style quickie is going to be a bit extended because I think this is well worth seeing. Now, I will preface this by saying that I do not support this individual on many, many issues. I find Majid Nawaz to be a bit of a liberal lefty cockhold. But on this count, I will give him his dues. Listen, it's about 10 minutes video. I'm going to I don't know if I play it all, but I'm certainly going to play at least a big chunk of it.
Hey everyone, it's Majid Nawaz here. Thank you for joining me today on this live stream. I wanted to update you guys because world events are fast progressing when it comes to the
Oh, sorry guys, just bear with me. Let me just need something.
Canadian protesting truckers and the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's response to them are absolutely unbelievable. Some of you would have heard me speaking about some of the background to these protests, which I also want to address. But also, just going back prior to that, my interview on the Rogan episode warned about what I have adopted the term the Chinese social credit system. I played a clip on that episode of the Secretary of the Chancellor of the Exchequer here in Britain, Rishi Sunak, talking about his desire to implement what they're calling the central banking digital currencies. Now, what these are effectively is state-issued digital vouchers that can be programmed for the purposes of dictating to you where you can spend your funds and what these vouchers are usable on. So imagine, for example, that these vouchers are specifically deactivated by the state so that you're not allowed to buy red meat, or you're not allowed to buy any particular good that is deemed unhealthy for you or against environmental policy. You end up in a situation where you can only buy that product that the state has determined for you. So keep that background in mind. This is what the fiat money, paper currency money, is if they get their way, is what they want to replace it with. They want to replace the paper cash you have in your pockets with the central banking digital currencies. Not to be confused, by the way, with cryptocurrency, which is a completely different thing, which is decentralized. It's based on the blockchain and cannot be programmed in that way to determine what you buy. Central banking digital currencies are effectively, it's why I call them state-issued digital vouchers. They are not really a currency. They can be manipulated and controlled so that you can only spend your money on what the state allows you to. So with that background, now move to the Canadian protesters with a bit of the background there for you in terms of specifically how this situation came about. The protesters had set up initially it was a GoFundMe page to allow for donations to move to them and allow them to continue to feed themselves, some of their families that are there, and also for basic logistics. Now, the GoFundMe page was eventually frozen, and the funds GoFundMe announced would be, initially they said, would be redistributed to recipients that GoFundMe, in coordination with those who set the page up, would decide and determine. That caused a huge backlash, as you can imagine. You're giving money to a charity, and ostensibly it says it's going to go to where you say why you gave the money. You can't suddenly decide halfway through that money isn't actually going to go to that group that you gave for, but actually the organization you're donating to gets to decide where the money goes to. That's absolutely unacceptable. So there was a huge backlash against GoFundMe. And then what happened after that was GiveSameGo decided to adopt the cause that GoFundMe had obviously frozen the bank accounts. GiveSameGo emerges and says, you know what, we will, on behalf of the truckers, distribute the money. The Canadian government responds by literally introducing policy, legislation, laws that prohibit GiveSameGo from distributing those funds. So in this instance with GiveSameGo, it wasn't their decision, unlike GoFundMe. It was a decision that was imposed upon them by the state. So two routes to financing the basic needs of these protesting truckers had been blocked by state intervention, or in the case of GoFundMe, by corporate intervention on behalf of the state. So what that left was for truckers to try and make do with what they had, and of course they stayed out there. So what's happened now is that the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, Chrystia Freeland, has announced today that because the measures they took so far didn't stop the truckers from protesting. In fact, even though one particular border crossing was cleared of truckers, another one, a bit like whack-a-mole, emerged. So because the Canadian state, in its desperation, was unable to stop the truckers and their protests, they warned in chronology. This is what happened. The PM Trudeau warned the truckers that it is now illegal to protest. And if they don't disperse, the measures that the state will take will get harsher and harsher and harsher. He gave that warning, PM Trudeau. He gave that warning roughly 3 days ago, if memory serves me correctly. And true to his cowardly word, that's precisely what they've started to do. So his deputy today, Chrystia Freeland, announced that these truckers will have their corporate bank accounts frozen. In other words, their ability to work will be completely pulled away from them, because if you're working as a contractor to various companies using a service company, those corporate accounts will be frozen. These truckers will no longer have the right or ability to earn a living. And what was also announced by the Canadian state is that their insurance will be cancelled. This is after, of course, PM Trudeau, by the way, announced that for the first time in history, Canada was invoking a state of emergency. I mean, we are literally in Emperor Palpatine prequels to Star Wars, if anyone didn't get the reference, episode 3 territory here, where the senator emerges as the dictator using democracy and using a crisis that has been manufactured by the state to seize power, declare emergency, and institute martial law. Trudeau here has, in a classic textbook scenario, used an emergency to clamp down on the rights of truckers, introduce an emergency law, and then seize their bank accounts and threaten to arbitrarily remove their insurance from their vehicles, prohibiting them, denying them the ability to work. So that's literally where we are, folks. And Trudeau, it appears, isn't going to back down. All he had to do was do what other countries around the world have already started to do, and that is end the mandates. That's all he needed to do. That was the basic demand of the truckers. There was no other demand. It was simply end the mandates. Where I'm speaking to you from in England, they have ended the mandates. Now, obviously, the reason why they've done that is a lot more complex. There's a lot of protest and a lot of opposition that's been involved here, reaching through all echelons of society. It was a lot harder for the Prime Minister here to spew some of the lies that Trudeau has been spewing about the protesters, that somehow they're racist, they're far right, all of that rubbish that we've heard all too often before, false flag allegations that don't ring true to the true patriotic citizens that are out there on the streets. And so for reasons that are a lot more complex here, England has retreated from COVID mandates, and so have certain other countries have decided to end the tyranny of these COVID mandates. The states that remain, wouldn't be a surprise to many of you, would be states such as Macron's France, or such as Australia, or Canada, or New Zealand, where some of the mandates were the harshest around the world. And so that's what you see. What you see going on is those states that decided to double down on the mandates, now that these protests have emerged, have decided to double down on their response instead of backing away. So Trudeau, his decision has been to double down, use this emergency to seize yet more power, and to continue imposing his tyranny upon the Canadian people. And that's why it becomes, I think, really important for everybody else around the world to continue to focus on what's happening in Canada, because it can indicate to us what could happen next in any other country if these protests, and a lot of these freedom convoys have been inspired by the truckers in Canada. If these protests kick off, you're going to start seeing some of them in other countries, and you'll see some of the so-called democratically elected rulers who've decided to use this excuse to seize more power, responding in the way that Trudeau has responded. So you've got the warning here, folks, already, that bank accounts could be frozen. That means that from now on, if you hear talk about digital currency, central banking digital currencies being introduced, that is what can happen. If at any point in the future, people decide to oppose the state, your cash, which is actually a voucher, a state-issued voucher that is programmable to only spend on where the state allows you to spend, your cash can effectively be frozen and you are denied the ability to live. That is the warning that we see coming from Canada that the rest of us should pay heed to. Do not allow for our everyday transactions to be governed by a centralized, state-issued digital voucher. The minute you do that is the minute we no longer have any form of liberty whatsoever, because if you can't eat, if you can't drink, if you can't have a roof over your head, because you can't use the money that the state says is legal tender, then you can't live. It's as simple as that. And that is my advice to everybody listening as well. We must resist the central banking digital currencies. That's what they're calling them. State-issued vouchers is what they really are. And that's what I spoke about in my still unreleased and censored episode on the Joe Rogan Experience. I mentioned this. I mentioned its connection to the Chinese social credit system and how dangerous this is because we already see it implemented in China. So another question I think for everybody should be, why has that episode still not been released? I've put the petition link here with this video for everybody to sign, and the hashtag Release Majid, so that we can continue the pressure. Sign the petition if you can. It'd be a great help. Continue the pressure to ask Spotify why, when these sorts of topics are playing out around the world now, and we see them, this is no conspiracy theory, folks. It's happening in front of our very eyes. So when I warned about all of this on the Joe Rogan Experience, why was my voice, the only voice ever, to my knowledge, to be permanently censored and never even be released in the first place on the Joe Rogan episode Experience? What is it they don't want you to hear? What is it that they don't want you to understand? Thank you for tuning in.
Okay, guys and girls, yeah. I think, I don't know, I mean, I know I extended my my video a lot longer than normal. This is almost a 26-minute video now, but, well, 27. But I think that was worth hearing, and the fact that Majid Nawaz's episode has not even aired on the on Spotify. They are not even releasing the thing. Now, maybe they will later. Maybe it's some kind of something's going on, whether they're preparing it or I don't know. But generally, that has not been released, his podcast. So that's interesting to see what's happening, because that to me shows what's going on with the Joe Rogan situation. Is Joe Rogan now slowly going to get censored and sort of, you know, editorialized effectively outside of Joe Rogan's hands? I don't know. Watch this space, and I'll try to do another quickie when I can tomorrow or in the future. Guys, I've also done a podcast on the Speaker's Corner Online channel, which was last night. Go check that out. It's awesome. With Manny Cinder, and also I will be doing I'm gonna say it, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. 8 o'clock Friday, the Drunken Troll. We're gonna take the piss out of some people somehow, somewhere. I don't know who yet. I'm gonna find some idiots to take the piss out of. So yeah, keep your eye out for that. Friday, 8 o'clock. I'll be getting drunk, trying to finish that last bottle of that bottle of Jack Daniels, the little segment at the bottom of that bottle, trying to finish that last third, and yeah, have a headache on Saturday. So thanks for coming. Thanks everyone. Love each other. Stay free. Be vigilant of tyrants, and stay away from Islam. Peace.